Hey guys, Danny here at PARTAY. So just wanted to check in with everybody. I got a few things to cover today. Kelly and Jason and family are all back. And so we should be able to get started on our sample packs a little later this week. So I'll check in with you again in a couple of days, kind of give you a status update on where we are with that and what our ETA is. For today, I received an email from a customer, and I'm going to address a couple of things that they brought up because I think it's important, rightfully so, and thank you for sending the email, and I'll cover that. But first, we're going to talk about the PARTAY products. So let's look at flexibility. So you've heard me say that PARTAY products are thermoplastic. So it's a plastic coating and not a paint mix. And thermoplastic just means that you can get it back to its original shape simply by hitting it with heat, as you see here. PARTAY Goppity Goop products are all very flexible in nature. Very pliable, meaning that they can be stretched. As a matter of fact, you got on one end, I usually leave about an inch for me to pull that an additional 2 to 3 inches around a frame whenever we make pine frames. Now, it's going to be dependent upon the substrate that you put it on. For example, on the sheet that I'm showing you here, this is just a piece of PVC. The PVC really doesn't stretch much, so you're not going to get a lot of stretch out of the product if you put it over something that has no stretchability. Okay. Next, let's talk about durability. So what you're going to see in this little video in the bottom left corner is, and I've shown this before, but I wanted to show it with a couple of different things. So I'm going to take a crayon and draw a little person here. Just do a little doodle. And I'm going to do it on a competitor's product, just over to the right. Pull that over. Started with a black one, realized I needed to move to a red. I'd grabbed the red and forgot to pull it up when I went over to the black panel. So we'll draw us a little doodle man there. I'll show you where that is. Also, while I'm doing that, I'm going to let you know that the screen you're looking at is Vega. That's with a 1600 lumen Xiaomi Media TV. I've got the window open. Some lights on in the room. I just kind of did that to balance out the light. But the light coming from the window is coming in at about a 45-degree angle. So it's more direct light than it is off-axis light. But that hitting the screen was over 317 lux. So that's about close to 32-foot candles. All right. So you can see I sprayed a little bit of stuff on our little stick figures there. I'm just kind of wiping it with my finger, just kind of spreading it around. And then I'm going to wipe it off with just a paper towel. And you'll be able to see that on the competitor's paint mix, it actually removes the paint. And when you pull it up and look at it, you can still see the stick figure. So it removed the paint, but not the stick figure. Okay? And then we're going to show you how it works on PARTAY products. So just another little paper towel. And just a easy little wipe. And this matters. Okay? Something you don't really hear people talk about, but it matters. And I'll explain why whenever I get to the customer's letter. So, other things. It was recently brought to my attention that I'm faking my demonstrations because all of that light, none of it's hitting the screen. It hits those lips up there. Okay? First of all, they're not called lips, they're called trays. And the light, while it does hit the tray, you can see the shadows cast by the tray. Those lights were put far enough out so that they would be able to hit all around the room. For that screen, the motorized screen, you can look at it and tell that it's hitting the whole screen. Okay, light's fully on. And you can see the shadow areas. Now those columns on the side were actually placed there not to protect the screen, but for speakers. The reason being is because the walls behind those, whenever we were reconstructing the room, there were a lot of side studs or cross studs that tied the studs together. Those were needed. This house is over 100 years old, so a lot of the framework in there was very different than what you see in modern homes. And there was no way to get speakers into the walls, not at the places where I wanted them. Now, you've also heard that I did this cookie cutter screen that matched my wall. So I did a video to show that it did not, in fact, match the wall at all. Now, the point of me showing you this stuff is because those smear campaigns that individual out there is doing, in a lot of cases, we've answered those things. But you notice that there's never an apology. There's never a retraction on their side. Why? Because it's not really the point. The point isn't to call out things that are true. The point is really just to try to smear someone who they can't keep up with. Nothing more complex than that. Because if I made a false claim about somebody's room, about somebody's screen, about the way that they're presenting the screen, and they show me evidence to prove otherwise, I'm going to retract that. Because otherwise, I'm just lying for the sake of lying. And that's what you see. So real quick, I'm going to read you a letter here. All right, here we go. Danny, I recently purchased your Vega Plus coating. I'm using an Epson 880 at 3300, I think that's 3300 lumens. First things first, smiley face, I just want to say I am very, very happy with my screen. I've tried a couple of other products and a handful of my own mix attempts. But this is the first screen that has ever felt like a real screen to me. I have attached a pic in my environment. Feel free to use this as an example of a real satisfied customer. If I can offer some advice, and he's got in parentheses, I know you did the example where you cleaned a Sharpie mark. Okay, I would focus some attention on how easy it is to maintain. My 6-year-old daughter used a prior paint coating for a chalkboard months ago. The chalk cleaned up easy enough, but it left scuffs where she had drawn. I used some of the leftover to paint over the area, but it didn't match entirely. Performance is a top priority, but the rest matters too. My good friend purchased an ALR screen a couple of years ago and ended up with a large scratch on the surface from a Wii controller incident. It couldn't be repaired and the manufacturer wouldn't replace. Now he is stuck with a $1,500 screen with a scratch that he hates seeing. Those things matter. I have nothing to repair, but you mentioned, put nothing to repair yet, but you mentioned how easy your coatings can be repaired. Maybe it's just me, but along with how good it looks and stands up well to light, maintenance is a big deal. Sorry to go on and on. It's your business. I just wanted to share that I think what you have here is really special. Jacob. So thank you, Jacob. We appreciate that. And we do too. We feel it's very special. And we focus a lot of attention. All those things came about willfully, okay, and intentionally. Because the same thing, I'd read on AVS forums many times where people had gotten their screen, not even put it together yet, and it had a scratch on the surface. You notice they tell you to use those gloves whenever you get it because you can scratch your microstructures. So, you know, it can be risky whenever you're messing with your screen. You have to be very careful. With PARTAY products, you got a lot of flexibility, a lot of ways to repair, to remediate, if you run into an issue on the screen that you won't have with expensive screens. So agreed. And getting back to the information that we were talking about before. Now, there's an attempt in this scene to give the impression of a lot of light using shears and having the doors open and things like that. But if you look at the image is still very dim and very little light is hitting that screen. As a matter of fact, the LED light is way too bright for there to be too much light in the room. Then you look at this one, you can see the light washing completely across the front of the screen, washing the black out to a gray. But it looks like it's been painted through a picket fence. Look at the roll marks. Same here. You can see all kinds of blemishes and, roll imperfections across the screen. And this is his own product now. You look at this one, same thing. You can pick up roll lines if you look close, and there's a desperate attempt to hide a hot spot there. Kept throwing things right up at that area of the screen trying to cover it up. So what you'll see is that, we don't make those same kind of attempts. Here, it's about real. Real is what matters. Okay, people want to understand whenever I get this and I coat my screen in it, what can I expect? Kenneth Bird and his channel just cannot tell the truth, and he's constantly manipulating the video, whether it's live, whether it's pre-recorded, doesn't matter, it's all on the same camera, through using his ISO and exposure settings to try to make things look much better than what they are. So what I'm going to show you here is a direct example. I want you to look at this. This picture says everything in one photo. What does it say? What it says is, look at the white sheets of paper and the gray screen. Now, every week, millions of people go to the movie theater to see movies that have night skies in them, some that have space scenes, some that just have dark scenes. But let me ask you this. If you ever saw, like, say, Star Wars or the Avengers in the theater, is that what the starfield looked like? Hell no. Because if it did, you would get up out of your seat, go out to the lobby, demand your money back, and leave. That is not what a white screen looks like in a dark environment, which is what he is telling you is occurring there. But once again, if that was the case, how does anyone watch any kind of space movie in a theater? It's because it's a lie. That's not what it looks like. As a matter of fact, in the theaters, some of those theater projectors have a lower contrast ratio than some of the projectors you guys have at home. But it's in a dedicated environment, a very, very dark environment. And no, that is not what space would look like on a white screen. But he would have you believe that. Why? To sell you a product that doesn't work. See, over the course of time, we have offered Mr. Bird to go toe-to-toe in a direct shootout with us. And he's flat out refused. Flat out refused. See, we're worth, and I say we, I'm speaking of Crow and I, but I'll just speak for me. I'm worth spending hours of videos to try to slander my product and company. But I'm not worth 30 minutes to ship out a package to go toe-to-toe. So what do you think the real truth is there? Because ultimately, to me, I know. People who know. And if you choose to believe otherwise, all I can say is good luck. You guys take care.